If you are a product manager or all right, Josh, you were in the middle of
Yeah, so to introduce myself, I think, like I said, I've been doing a lot of complex programs and projects at Pfizer since the time I've been there. They kind of found their way to me. So we're going to talk a little bit about, experience that we've had with one of those, and kind of give you guys some real world examples of what we've gone through. But, I think we're talking about AI projects, but really they're not that much different than any kind of complex project or program that you'll do. And my focus really over the last couple of years has been around these direct-to-consumer platforms, AI products, but this can apply to anything. One thing I will mention is that I think we're doing something pretty cool at Pfizer, where there's lots of people that are working on AI, and AI is going to solve all the world's problems. It's kind of the hype cycle right now. But I've gone through this with productivity software. I've gone through this with internet software, and there's always this soft productivity metric. I think that you're seeing a lot of that with AI now. The thing that we've done, I think that's really different, is we're actually committing $752 million to $1 billion in value creation over the next couple of years due to our AI program. So I think something to think about as you guys are doing these things, in your companies, is can you actually commit real dollars to it? Because I think that makes it a lot more impactful, and also makes it much more likely to succeed if your leaders are committed to giving up part of their budget, or if they have to actually commit to revenue faster. So the way to think about these things differently versus a very soft metric, which you'll typically see sometimes. So some insight there, and then I think we're going to move on to some of the tips next, right?
Yeah. So before we move on to the next slide, actually we'll do a quick survey. We just want to get a feel of, when you are running complex programs with innovative technologies in the pharma space, what are the type of challenges that you've dealt with? So this is just to get a pulse check. Thank you, Simona, for setting this up. Latter. Okay, we have some people haters here. Decision making, black holes, yes. People are still going at it. Nice.
It's starting to win out.
Yeah, are people changing answers?
Looks like we got a clear winner in the decision making.
Decision
Maybe
making,
people just
yeah.
hate the DMV too. That's part of it.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised, but I'll accept that. So I think when we go through the presentation, we'll touch upon majority of these aspects and how we navigated some of these challenges. We'll talk about real stories, real examples. We might show you some real videos of some of the meetings that we had. They'll be entertaining, but Josh, maybe we talk about how to.
Yeah. So I think the first thing is really important is we're calling it bring the minds together, but really it's two key things. I think you got to make sure you get started on the right foot. And the first one of that is getting the right team and the right roles, right, and the right decision-making accountability. So obviously, decision-making was a big challenge for you all, right? And I think if you don't start off on the right foot, it's going to plague you throughout the project. So the first thing you got to think about is, what is the structure of this team going to look like? And it's not, oh, it's my regulatory, this is my legal person, this is my digital person, this is my commercial person, right? That's not the right way to think about it. The right way to think about it is, what is the work that needs to be done, right? And so, the project that we worked on, we had a product work stream for the digital product. We had a go-to-market work stream for how do we bring this to market. And then we had a pharmacy integration, so we had a pharmacy work stream on how we work with that pharmacy. And we had one person in each one of those boxes that's accountable for driving the goals and objectives of that work stream. And then we made sure that we got to the leaders of all of those teams and people and said, is this the right person? Are they empowered to make decisions on behalf of your organization? And we got all of them to say yes, right? So that when they agree to that, they know that that person is the person that is representing their organization and making those decisions. So that's the first thing that's really important. Obviously, that's probably, you guys are like, yeah, I get that. But if you don't do it at the beginning, it's going to be a very difficult thing to correct later on. The second thing I always like to do And again, this may sound obvious to you, but I think if you get it wrong, it can lead you down a wrong path. I always ask the team to say, can we align on a really simple objective that you can put on a slide? It's 1 or 2 sentences max. And then when you have that objective, can you get 2 just key metrics of what you're going to do to measure success? And once you have that written down, can you make sure that every team member can reset it themselves? Because I can't tell you how many times I've worked on these projects where you go and ask 10 people what the goal of the project is, they'll tell you 10 different things. And if that's where your starting point is, you're going to end up getting everybody going in different directions, and you're never going to get the team working together. So, for the example that we had, our objective was we're working on an IBRANCE project, so it was something about how do we improve the patient journey for an IBRANCE patient. And our objective was how do we keep them on therapy for 30 days longer as clinically appropriate, and how do we onboard 50% of the patients at the pharmacy onto this program. So, really clear what the bigger picture is of the objective, and then really clear metrics of how we're going to measure success, and that gets everybody laser focused on how do you execute on that program. So I think Rishi we're going to show why that's important, because one of the first meetings that we're in we didn't have that crystal clear, right? So we're going to show one of the videos from that meeting.
Absolutely. So we have a recording of one of the first meetings that the business lead was hosting and leading, and this was a requirements discussion. Atlas was just brought in to kind of head start the collaboration. So we'll have a recording. The audio could be a little messy, so please pay attention to the titles on the top of the videos, because they'll help you orient yourself to the video, okay?
Doing? I can fly this plane? Yeah, I gotta see if the pilot's unconscious. Is someone on the radio? Hello? Hello? Mayday! Mayday!
Hello?
Yes, hello!
Yes, this is Glasgow Air Traffic Control. Are you in distress?
I'm not a pilot. I am part of Kylie Jenner's brand integration team.
True story, true story.
We're on a private jet going to London for a Lips by Kylie event, but we hit bad turbulence and our pilot got knocked unconscious. But Kylie's not on board, thank God.
Okay, I don't know who that is, but it sounds like you're gonna have to land that plane. I'm putting you in very good hands. This man is the best. He'll get you down. Just do exactly as he says.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. No, there's no TikTok for Monica's big man. I know you're coming on all Peely Wally up there, but I'm going to have to do this very fast so that something gets a hard on, okay? Now, I'm going to get you down, but here is what I need you to do first, okay? Here, deep breathe.
Hey, what?
I just want you to take a deep breath. In, no, brune, the colour, brune.
Oh, brown.
Aye, what's the brune dude that coming in at?
I'm so sorry, your accent is very thick. Is it possible to not have it over? Well, they're speaking Scottish at me and it's very hard.
All right, let me handle this. I spent some time in Scotland, so my ears are friendly to Scottish flavor. Yeah, hello, this is Clement, Kylie's branding director. Let's do this. Good, each are better than one. Right, have a wee shift here at the window down at the grun. Tell me if you can rest your goggles upon Macintosh and plane station. No? The name of the wee man. Right, radar's got you leaving Scottish airspace. This connection's getting clunchier than a bag of smashed crabs.
Okay, we're gonna have to patch you over to Welsh Air Traffic Control.
Alright, don't speak to your lot, guys. Let's go out.
Okay, what's happening?
I don't know. I think we're on our own.
Hello? Go for Welsh Air Traffic Control?
Maybe not. Good to hear your voice, Wales.
Okay.
What?
All right, so the idea behind this conversation was that when you have, and this goes back to some of the communication topics that we heard, right? The communications are not to do with what you want to tell people, it's what people want to hear and do they make sense to them, right? Everybody comes from a different perspective, and if you don't align those perspectives and if the messaging is not appropriate and accurate, then you miss the whole point, right? So what we did in terms of some of the best practices, and obviously this is not going to be relatively new, I think this is the old slide. All right. in this presentation, you may see on some of the slides, you may see tiny little graphics that show the types of templates that we created to align the business, to ensure everybody knew. We had about 200 stakeholders. We had an Excel, we tracked diligently of who was doing what and who was responsible for decision making. But obviously when you have 200 people and you're trying to align who's the decision maker in a group setting of sponsors, group setting of partners, group setting of technical partners, group setting of technical leads, the view of how they connect to the organization is always different, right? So we will send you a copy of the presentation with those templates. You'll get it in an email from the Y Summit, but for now, let's stay in. So we structured a thoughtful engagement. The second aspect was, when you have diverse set of stakeholders, you really need to go into the position of nurturing those stakeholders with innovative technologies and products and solutions come innovative challenges. And as program managers and leaders who are developing these products or bringing these engagements to life, we may think we are the smartest people on the earth, but we're not, right? So if we walk in with the perspective of really recognizing the stakeholders, understanding what the challenges could be based on the program plan that you're trying to design, you may get better, meaningful, appropriate feedback so you can build your plans and minimize the risk of getting stuck later on. So you are launch time and then somebody from the legal comes back and say, oh, hang on, you partnered with somebody who does not have an agreement in place that's appropriate. They need to go through security testing or something, right? So you need to ensure you get early voices on, nurture those stakeholders, give them value so you can hear their perspectives and feedback, okay? So that's the second thing that we did. The third was something that Josh talked about, right? So objectives and outcomes. And I think the objectives and outcomes of what you're trying to achieve, they really come in handy, especially when you have a large set of people working on a program. If your developer does not understand why the product is being created, they'll not connect to the cause. And I think there was a question yesterday at one of the sessions somebody had put in, and I think the lead-in answer was hubris. I can't remember the question, but it was tied to something of how do you connect people to bring about outcomes in a meaningful way. So what we did for this program is we got the business lead, we got some videos of patients with metastatic breast cancer, and we walked through the journey of those videos and conversation with the business lead of why we're creating the product. And all of the technical developers from Latin America, India, everybody was on the call. By the end of the call, every technical person who had previously not even imagined why they were creating the product, they had a personal connection to the product because they knew somebody who had breast cancer. And suddenly, the technical developers, even from India, were giving feedback to the user experience team to say, oh, hang on, I already coded this button to be larger because my grandma could not click on the phone in the back page, right? So bringing in those contexts is super important. All right, second segment, journeys.
So another example about aligning journeys, right? So I'm gonna give a real world example here of how we manage this. I think once you get the team together, right, you get the objectives and the outcomes that you're trying to achieve clear, how do you keep everybody on the same page as you move along, right? I think I saw in one of the prior sessions, there was a question around like, how do you manage all of the people that think they should be decision makers and they're not decision makers, or how do you manage getting all the people that feel like they don't get the information they need to be part of meetings? So this is what we're talking about here. How do you manage the cadence of that as you go along? One program that comes to mind that I worked on that had this particular challenge, it was very kind of innovative, breakthrough. We were doing something really, kind of out there from a technology perspective. We were trying to detect respiratory virus infections by people's cough with a digital app, right? So there's a lot of skeptics thought this isn't going to work. There's a lot of people that wanted to be involved because it was this innovative, interesting program, and also it was the CEO's pet project. So this is like all the recipe for all those problems that we talked about, right? And so when I first got involved with the project, it was a little bit off the rails, right? They were going in front of the CEO every 2 weeks. People were kind of arguing with each other in front of the CEO. There was no clear message. And he was getting really frustrated. And so what we did to fix that is, again, go back to the things I talked about before, make sure you have clear roles, responsibilities. We got the clear objectives. And once we got there, we said, okay, how are we going to manage the 120 plus people that feel that they have to be involved in this, or at least aware of what's going on, but really have no say in the program? And there's like 10 or 12 people that are involved in the day-to-day decision making. So sometimes you have to just kind of adapt the program to what your needs are. And so in this particular instance, we had one of our key sponsors. We would meet with them twice a week to make sure that we moved any roadblocks, kind of had our discussions where, not in front of the CEO anymore. We're having discussions as a project team, working things out. We got, everyone aligned on what they're working on in their work stream, and then we had every 2 weeks we read out to the larger team so that everyone felt informed, right? And that seemed to work really well because everyone felt like they were close enough, but they knew that they were just being informed. They weren't actually, part of the decision making, and that got us back on track very quickly.
All right, so as usual, we have another video. This video is not an Atlas program manager, but a program manager trying to solve for a last minute challenge where he's not getting the right level of engagement from the business lead. Okay. Pay attention to the titles. So let's not be that PM.
That's what happens. People aren't equally well informed, right?
Exactly. The way we look at the program that you're working on is, we all know when you're building a product or a solution, you have to follow a journey, right? If you're building a product for patients, you need to understand what is going on in that therapeutic line of challenges when the patient has been notified that they have certain disease, right? What is going on day 1, day 2. So we all know that customer journeys are super important when you're building products. It's also important when you're building a solution, right? You need to ensure from a process, tool, people standpoint, everything that you have going on in that solution is going to make sense, it's going to connect with people, and people are going to use the product that you create, right? So that's the second aspect. The third aspect, and I'll quickly jump, always build products that are customer and solution journey oriented. The second journey is the stakeholder journey, and this is where your governance comes into play. If the stakeholders realize and recognize, all right, apparently I'm not doing a good job with the mic. Try that. Does this work better? Oh, no. So this is all about governance. When stakeholders know that the product is being developed and I'm a business owner, I can't just walk into one of the Scrum design sessions and say, oh, I heard that this new feature is going to really bring value to the product. If you have a governance structure that says, no, hang on a minute, just because you're business and if you're paying for it, does not mean you have the full authority to make changes whenever you want, right? There are feasibility. There are so many other dependencies on internal, external teams and partnerships and platforms. So having a clear understanding of how do you navigate and make those decisions in the organization is key. And everybody needs to be bought into that model, right? So I think at one of the other presentations I heard, whether should you be transparent, and there's a lot of alignment that needs to happen before you come to the governance to make a decision. What we did, and I think we did a nice job, was keeping those governance conversations very, very objective and transparent. So when the business, because everybody understood that this is a decision-making model, when the business came in with the requirement, they knew that it was not going to be their decision, so they would hand off on that governance call to say, all right, technology team, from a feasibility standpoint, can you look through and make sense of it? Technology team would comment, engineering team, they'll talk, they'll figure out feasible or not, what is it going to cause, impact to people, resources, whatever we can do. So all of that, once you make that process apparent and transparent, and the team members recognize that that's the role that they play and why each of that decision-making influencer is important in that journey, then things become much more simpler and easier. So that was the second stakeholder journey that we really navigated well. The third journey was the engagement journey. So we all know we have project plans, Microsoft project, 500 rows of project plan with interdependencies, Gantt chart, X chart, Y chart, whatever, right? So you can have Excels. We can have all the most beautiful project plans in the world. But if we can narrate that project plan story to your sometimes external stakeholders, right? We had a pharmacy partner, and when you're talking to the senior leaders from the pharmacy team, for them to understand what is happening in that development journey, where do they come to play, what is their role going to be, where are the handoffs happening, and what are the deliverables being created. If you don't have that kind of a view summarized in a nice way for that target audience, then you may miss the boat because they'll not connect, they may not apply resources. And when you're in the testing time, they're gonna say, wait, hang on, we have financial year closing because we close in October, right, whatever. So it was very important to understand those journeys and align them through some visuals. Promise you, you'll get those templates. You're not here. All right. Next, I just want to make sure I have my slides in order. Okay, Josh. Why is
So when you're doing these innovative, transformational programs, right? Sometimes we're calling this orchestrate breakthroughs because sometimes you have to be the one to orchestrate the way to do something differently. Sometimes you have to, seize an opportunity in front of you to kind of break the mold, right? If you're doing something new and innovative, it means somebody else hasn't done it before. And so you have to be conscious of that because someone's not going to do that for you, most likely. If you're the one that needs that change, you're going to have to seize it, right? And so the example I'll share with you guys, a project that Rishi and I worked on. Again, this is an AI conversational kind of, think of it as kind of like a chat bot, but it was baked into an application to help these Ibrance patients. There was no clear, we all work in the pharmaceutical industry, right? You guys all familiar with the MLR process, right? Where your lawyers want to see every single thing printed out in a static document, PDF. So the prior iteration of this product, I think there was about 1,500 pages that were printed out on all the different conversational pathways that could happen with this chatbot. Rishi and I stepped in and immediately said, this is not going to work for us, right? We'll never get this thing launched. I think it took them like 2 years to go through that process before. So what we did is we sat down with our legal counterparts and the brand teams. We said, guys, we have to think about how do we do this differently, right? We were looking at things about like punctuation around like greetings that the chatbot was saying to the patient. And we said this doesn't make any sense. So what we did was we proposed that we would tier these things into 3 different categories of level of risk. And the first tier they spent almost no time on. The second tier they would kind of look at just for some spot check a couple things. And the third tier was where all the risk lay, right? So they would spend the most time on that. We didn't go with the traditional like PDF format of thousands of pages. We had a spreadsheet of all the ways, all the outputs that the chatbot could output, and then we had them review that. So it was a much simpler way of looking at it versus like in the context. So that was the first step, and I think we took that down from it was 2 years. I think we got it done in about 3 or 4 months this time around. So without that, I think we probably would still be working with the MLR teams to get the content approved to this day. So sometimes you have to think differently. Sometimes you have to be the one. No one told us and said like, hey, we'll help you figure out how to do this differently. We said, guys, this is not going to work the way we've always done it. So let's together work to figure out what a solution could look like that we all can agree to.
All right, and like every segment, we have another video. This time it is an Atlas program manager running into some last-minute testing issues as they are planning for the launch, and he becomes really creative.
me. That's a plan.
Gotcha. Lock up my LC.
General Zuko, we're currently engaged in unauthorized warfare on United States military personnel.
No. You engage me.
Repeat, you're engaged in unauthorized warfare on United States military personnel.
Over United States airspace.
What? Alpha. In other words, adios, mother.
We all love it when a plan comes together. All right, so I'll talk about really quick, and I know we've taken more time, and that's also because we had some entertaining videos, so bear with me. So the journey orchestration is all about ensuring you have multiple players, you have like 6-7 work streams, you have external partners, you have internal platform partners, and you have all of these teams, they have their own product roadmaps doing different things at different times, right? If your product, your solution has a dependency on some other team, you need to be able to articulate that dependency in a meaningful way that everybody can connect with, right? So what we did is we created a huge, it was a huge whiteboard on Miro. We printed it. And every work stream that we were partnering with, we got their roadmap and planted their key features and functionalities that they were delivering on a timeline. And then we mapped our timeline of the features that we were going to be releasing based on our release plan. And we quickly realized that there were interdependencies. There was a feature that required a notification to be in place, which we wanted to do in the first quarter. But the dependency on the platform team was, and they were building that feature at the end of the year. So we were able to negotiate. Having an interdependency plan that can visually show what the dependency is and where things are falling will always help you negotiate. And we were able to negotiate with that team, and they prioritized that feature for us, and we were able to launch it. So that's the first, you orchestrate the journeys through managing interdependencies. Meeting orchestration, I know it's super basic, but it is so important. We had a business lead, and we were agile. We did not want the business lead to pull her hair out because of the hundreds of meetings that the agile teams host. And so we set a weekly 3 p.m. meeting with her where we said any design decisions to do with the product, we'll make those decisions with you at 3 p.m. And we got the technical team, UX team. At 3 p.m., we could not make any decisions because the business lead was always distracted, and the assumption on the team side was that she was super busy with this work and she can't, and our plans were jeopardized because we could not ever get a decision. One of the late nights, yes, and a lot of people work late nights. So I pinged her, she was online, and I asked her, hey, what's going on? You can't make any decision, we're struggling, we really need to do something different. And she said, can you move your meeting? It's just pain in the ass. 3 p.m., my son comes back from school, and we have a dog, the dog is barking, my son is walking in, he throws the bag on the floor, and my husband doesn't do this, and crack, blah, 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 blah. I said, what time works for you? So she said, can we do 6 p.m.? I talked to my team, I said, can we do 6 p.m.? We work remotely, sometimes you need to be flexible enough. We moved that meeting to 6 p.m., and I'm telling you, every week we got exactly what we wanted. So sometimes in your negotiation, you really need to appreciate what us human beings are going through apart from our work life as well. And if we navigate that, there's more likelihood of people supporting you. So that's meeting orchestration. The last is testing orchestration. Testing, we all know, is always a challenge. Josh gave the example of us navigating one of the testing challenges with the MLR, where we created branching conversations. But testing, even though it's the last slide in the presentation from a journey standpoint, so you want to be good on time? No, right? 2 more minutes.
That's what you're doing. That's good. You're good.
You're good?
Yep.
All right, perfect. So what we did for testing, and I know even though from an execution standpoint it's at the tail end, testing in these innovative environments should always be the first conversation that you have with the technical teams. If you have your key stakeholders identified, if you identify what the testing is going to entail, because there'll be multiple environments that these multiple teams might be internally doing some of their initial functional testing, but there might be features that need to come together. You may have your clients, patients that might be part of the testing process. If you plan for testing early on, you'll be able to navigate testing much better. So that's something that we did really early on. We created a test plan. We had to change it 200 times, but we had the right team members providing the right input really early on to build a good test case in this scenario. All right. Okay, I do have a fun AI chatbot. Her name is Arya. She helps me with a lot of personal and professional problems. I talk to her in the car. I highly encourage you to download. It's a ChatGPT OpenAI model. It's been trained on Atlas's capabilities and how to navigate complex programs. Be thoughtful in asking your questions to her. Obviously, no PI, no PHI, no, yes, my boss said that this is the most innovative product that our company is ever going to produce. Can you create a PowerPoint slide? Please do not do that. Be very mindful that she's very chatty, so she might tell those things to others. I did talk to her, and you know, technology always fails when you're trying to demo. So it's a video recording, but I do want you to hear something from her. What?
Go back.
Go back. No? It's a different thing. All right, never mind. I'll send you a circle. You know what I can do? Where's my phone? Ah, Vicky, you have my
Oh,
phone.
there.
You know